But now it's 10 years since our guest today lived through every parent's worst nightmare. In 2014, Hollie Gazzard was brutally murdered by her ex-boyfriend Asher Maslin. She was just 20. The murder followed months of abuse and violence. Maslin had hit and kicked Hollie. He had stolen her money and threatened to kill himself if she left him. At the trial for Hollie's murder, it was revealed that Maslin had been arrested 23 times before for violence and domestic abuse. He was found guilty of murder and jailed for a minimum of 24 years. Since then, Hollie's father Nick has campaigned to help other victims of domestic violence and to help vulnerable young women. 10 years on, Nick continues to work tirelessly to try and stop other families suffering like his. Please welcome Nick Gazzard. Now, we're talking to you, Nick, because 10 years have passed since you lost Hollie. What's it like for you to look at the little film that we just made? I mean, she's an absolutely gorgeous girl. What's it like for you looking back and being reminded of that time?
It's always a pleasure, really, because I really wanted Hollie, not to fade away. So every time we see her on the news or on social media, it reminds us that she's still there.
Yeah.
She's a person, she's an individual.
And do you think talking about her, keeping her memory alive and also having the Hollie Gazzard Trust, do you think that's helped with your grief and trying to deal with the horrificness of her passing?
Yeah, absolutely. Right at the outset, I wanted to do something positive, and creating the trust was something that I could get my teeth into and really keep Hollie's memory alive, but also help prevent the Hollies of the future. And that was the real reason why we set up the trust, because no parent should go through what we go through still, and no person should go through what Hollie went through.
And it really was in that immediate aftermath that you really turned that pain into purpose and were very practical about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks afterwards. I sat down. I'm a really positive person, so I thought, what can I do? I don't want Hollie to fade away, so can I do something which will help other people?
Yeah.
And that's how the trust started.
And so talk to us about the work of the trust, because you do go into schools, don't you? Yeah,
we have a lot of programmes and workshops that we run in schools, colleges, universities. We've got some new programmes coming out. One of them is Rethinking Masculinity, which is about how young boys treat young women and what role models do they have. So
this is the antidote to Andrew Tate, is it?
Yeah, it is in a way, because obviously two years ago when he surfaced, there was a big outcry and a lot of boys followed his the way he did things, and we wanted to try and combat that. And rather than say toxic masculinity, we've got rethink masculinity. And we got some really, really good results out of that.
And Nick, I must say, obviously we're talking about everybody being educated, but why do you think it's so important to go in at such an earlier stage in the schools?
Well, I think one of the things that we try to do is to make young people better citizens, more resilient, so that when they're in their communities, they can act in the right way. And when they leave school, they're hopefully much better people and can relate to the opposite sex in the right way and do the right things as young males.
What ages are you?
We're in senior schools.
Yeah. Do you think it's never too early to go into schools to teach boundaries, kindness, in primary school, to start the earlier we start talking about this, the better?
Absolutely. I don't think you can have it too early. We concentrate in the senior schools because that's where our experience is. But, yeah, junior schools and primary schools, get people in there and let's get people on the right track. Because as soon as we get people on that right track, the sooner they go around the straight and narrow.
Now, in terms of violence against women and girls, I mean, the cases that we've had in the past decade are countless.
Yeah.
And the horrificness of the cases of women being murdered that could so easily have been prevented. When you look over the past decade as what has happened, do you feel as though we're in the same position at the way we look at violence against women and girls, or do you feel as though we're gaining more of an understanding of how to stop situations before they arise?
I think we've got a better understanding now, and we're making some inroads, but as we're making more inroads, then the target is moving further away because other things are coming in, like the Andrew Tates and muddying the waters. So I think we are making progress, but it's very, very slow progress. And I always say that if you don't start, then you will never get to the solution. So we'll do all we can to help protect violence against women and girls.
It's very powerful, and I really admire the work in the schools, because so often the messaging is aimed at women and older women of don't go out late at night, go out in groups. And actually, could we talk about what maybe the perpetrators should not be doing, and that misogyny? And you've been very practical with building an app as well, haven't you? This is a resource for us to safeguard ourselves.
Absolutely. We've got an app called Hollie Guard, and it's a personal safety app that you can download to any smartphone. So we have over 500,000 people now using the app. And it's protecting a lot of people. And we have had a lot of feedback to say, actually, your app is making me feel safer.
Yeah, and it's been used in court as well, hasn't it?
We are involved in a lot of investigations with the police where the data from Hollie Guard is being used.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can influence conviction rates going forward as well.
Now, we'll obviously have a lot of parents watching us, because it's not quite half-term across the whole country, so we'll have a lot of parents watching us who will be parents of sons, who will be sitting there and thinking, is there something that I could do more of, just to encourage them to be thinking about masculinity in a way that perhaps they haven't been thinking before. I think a lot of parents, especially of teenage boys, are quite fearful of the unknown.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, they're influenced by pornography, by games, by TV. So there's a lot of pressures on young males these days. And that's the reason why we want to go into schools, to try and redress that balance. But I think parents can sit down with their young males and talk about things, talk about the opposite sex. You know, how do you feel? How do you treat someone? So I think we've lost that art of conversation a little bit.
How do you handle rejection?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and handling rejection the right way, because that makes a person a lot stronger if they do it in the right way.
Rejection is definitely one of those things. I know, obviously, with your trust, HET, you're also offering out training programmes around hairdressing. How do you think your daughter would have felt about that?
Yeah, I'm sure she would have said, yeah, you know, Dad, get on with it. You know, sort it out. But yes, we have done some work with hairdressers in the past, because for me it's everybody. We all need training in this type of thing. And when I look back at Hollie, she never had any of this training at school or this education. We didn't have it as parents. So it's important that they do have this education, and they treat people in the right way.
It takes a doer to do it, like you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not a person who just sits back. I want to come out fighting, but I want to do things that I can affect.
And you are affecting change the country over. Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you.